debates not only need a motion, but they need adjudicators. We've had over 120 judges who have been giving up their time and their expertise in the course of the last week or so, whose feedback to students has been invaluable. And judging our grand final panel tonight, or this afternoon, we have a panel drawn from all parts of the world. The 11 judges who will be judging the grand final are Aaron Manyan from Singapore, Beth James from Wales, Cameron Wiley from Scotland, Claire Ryan from New Zealand, Effie Giannakouri from Greece, Eva Spoor from the Netherlands, Leanne Horwitz from South Africa, Nevesh Mumtaz Ahmed from Pakistan, Ragnar Seal from Estonia, Ria Darmawan from Indonesia, and sharing the panel, my colleague as co-chief adjudicator, and also, as you can tell from the accent, from Australia, Simon Quinn. I think our two timekeepers are ready. Our two teams are ready. In which case, may I introduce to you the first speaker for the proposition team, Iqbal Kassar.
For too long have big companies manipulated taxpayers. For too long have they exploited society. For too long have they exploited the fact that they provide something that people either want or that they need. It's time for us to tell them that we are no longer going to tolerate that exploitation. And that's why we on Team Canada are here today to propose that we should never bail out big companies. We believe in order to win this debate, we have to prove to you two things. We first have to prove to you that in regular economic cycles, bailouts are harmful to the economy and to people in general, and we also have to show you that in abnormal business cycles, bailouts are both ineffective and harmful, as well as the fact that the government has better tools that it can use. So what exactly are we talking about? First of all, what is a bailout? We believe that a bailout is that when a government provides a monetary package designed to rescue companies that face failure. And this can take a lot of different forms, including but not limited to governments paying off a company's debt or injecting cash into a company, or even the government assuming responsibility for a company's debt. We see two situations where bailouts are used. First of all, with failures in regular business cycles when big companies simply fail either because they made poor decisions or because they're no longer necessary in a market. In this case, we believe that they should fail and should not get a bailout. We're looking at companies like Chrysler, like GM. There's a second situation in which bailouts are used, and that is the failure of essential services. In the failure of essential services, we believe again that bailouts are inappropriate because of the fact that the government has better tools that they can use to address those situations. So what kind of tools are we talking about? Well, we think that there are three. The first one is regulation, and we think that bailouts actually undermine regulation because bailouts incentivize companies to look for loopholes, something that we're going to prove to you in our first argument on Team Canada. The second tool is nationalization. We think that if a government needs to ensure that a service continues being provided, then the best way to do that is by taking that service directly and removing it from the free market altogether, rather than trying to tinker with the free market and to try to get it to provide something that is not designed to provide. And we think that nationalization should be very rare and only used in cases of imminent and direct societal harm. Finally, we think that bankruptcy is a natural mechanism that can be used to preserve the service that needs to be provided, but removing the entire problematic framework that makes it unprofitable. And we're going to be operating under the team line that the cost of doing business is sometimes failure. We have three arguments we're going to give you. I'm going to be talking about passing the buck, which is this idea of the moral hazard, and why it's principally wrong to get taxpayers to pay for something that they didn't do wrong. We're also going to be talking about this idea of out of the ashes, which are the benefits of creative destruction in the market. And finally, we're going to talk to you about this idea of not the sharpest tool in the shed, showing you exactly why bailouts are not necessarily the best way to go about preserving the integrity of the economy. Let's begin with this first idea, which is passing the buck. What we're going to be proving to you under this argument is that bailouts are bad because they transfer accountability to a party that should not be responsible for that particular action that has been taken. And the first part to this is principle. And we think that the moral hazard is something that needs to be considered. We think that it is principally wrong for the taxpayer to be the one to refinance the failure of big companies and to get absolutely nothing in return apart from a little IOU card, ladies and gentlemen. We think that many of these companies are companies that have actively harmed the taxpayer by completely neglecting social responsibility. And we think that by using hard-earned tax dollars to pay for those companies' failures, we are principally not justified in doing so. We also have to take a look at the practical ramifications. What we think is that if you set the precedent that the government is willing to take the fall for big companies, you remove the deterrent that stops excessive risk. Why? Well, what we would say is that bailouts create a safety net for the people at the very top of the company. We're talking about CEOs, upper management, and shareholders. And we think that in all of these situations, at least with CEOs and management, they almost always stay in power. Let's look at shareholders, though. They always stay in power, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what kind of restructuring a bailout can provide. They cannot be removed by any other method than nationalization or letting the company completely fail. And we think that the safety net that you create actively rewards these people for taking a